Hey, I'm John. This is a quick video on how to remove and replace a clutch on a 96 full-size Ford Bronco. So first off, you want to pull the transfer case linkage that puts the vehicle in four-wheel drive, and that lever there is held in by a 13 millimeter or a ½ inch roughly sized bolt. Loosen the bolt and then pull the shifter up so it's out of the way.
It's here. You'll also need to remove the drive shaft from here to the front pinion.
You'll want to also remove that drive shaft there that goes from the rear end to the tail shaft of the transfer case.
Held in by 4 bolts here and 4 bolts here. So if you come between the exhaust and the transmission on the passenger side, up top by the floor pan, you'll see that stud there will have a nut on it. You need to remove it. Go over to the left side of the transmission, and in the same spot, tighten the nut on that side of the stud until the stud pulls free, and then you can remove the shift lever.
Also, you'll have to remove the battery cables so that way you can remove the starter bolts and remove the starter from the vehicle. This is necessary to pull the transmission back far enough to get the clutch in and out of the vehicle. Next step is you need to remove the bell housing bolts from the transmission that mount the transmission to the engine. These are bell housing bolts, and they're all around the transmission. You can see them. There's a couple there. Up top, they're a little trickier to get to, but you can get to them with a long extension in a wobbly. All right, so you want to remove the cross member. It bolts in right here. We had just taken it loose. You got to remove these 2 bolts here. Remove the mount that it bolts to, and then 3 bolts on each side, and they're up here if you look. Take the nuts off, leave the bolts hanging for the cross member side. Then install your transmission jack. About right here is good. The book on Pro Demand and Snap-on says to remove the transfer case. We're going to try to remove the transmission without removing the transfer case today. Alright, so what we've done here is we've supported the transmission in the front and in the back. We did end up leaving the transfer case on. It did work out just fine. So it skipped a step that Snap-on Pro Demand on the computer asked us to do initially. Slid it back just enough to remove the clutch pressure plate and disc. This is what came out. Telltale signs of a bad clutch disc. You'll see the rivets. The clutch disc has been worn down to the rivets. There's basically nothing left of this clutch. Pressure plate. The throw-up bearing has caused a wear on the pressure plate fingers. You see all the clutch material. This is bad news bears. On this side, you'll see all the heat from the clutch burning up and the wear. This is bad news. If your pressure plate looks like this and you're just trying to replace the disc, go ahead and replace the whole thing. That's not good at all. This is what a new one looks like. No wear, good shape. Look at that. Like a brake rotor. No cracks, no heat, no nothing. And you see plenty of life before the rivets get down to where they are on this one. And look at it this way. There's nothing left of this clutch. And now we're going to install it and then reverse the procedure. And that's it. So installing this clutch, you want to put these together just like that. And you'll notice that it says flywheel side on the clutch disc. So flywheel side, that's engine side. Put your alignment tool in and go right on in. Line up the bolt holes. Got one. Going over to the other side. We'll put in another. And we'll bring in the tools. Alright, so that's basically how you put a clutch disc and pressure plate in. Make sure your alignment tool is dead center before you tighten down the pressure plate tighten them all down to torque specifications. We'll leave that torque spec in the description.